Now let's go to the second example. Now take a look at this limit over here. As x go to infinity, e to the x is going to go to infinity, and x squared also go to infinity. So this is going to be the type infinity over infinity. Okay. Now, again, this is an emergency, so we need to rush to the hospital and apply L'Hopital's rule. Okay. So we apply L'Hopital's rule right here. So we rush to the hospital. We apply L'Hopital's rule. Okay. So limit of this quotient is limit of the derivative of the numerator divided by the derivative of the denominator. Okay. Apply L'Hopital's rule. That is equal to, well,
The derivative of e to the x is e to the x itself.
the derivative of x squared is 2x. When x goes to infinity, e to the x again go to infinity. And the denominator also go to infinity. So again, this is of the type infinity over infinity. So again, we need to rush the hospital, okay? So hopefully this time it will be cured, okay? So we apply L'Hopital's rule one more time, okay? So we take the limit as x goes to infinity. Now the derivative of e to the x is e to the x itself. So we got e to the x over here, okay? And the derivative of 2x is going to be 2. Now, what happened over here is, as x go to infinity, e to the x is going to go to infinity. So the numerator go to infinity, and the denominator stay the same, 2. So this whole thing will go to infinity. So the answer here is infinity, positive infinity, okay? Okay. Number 3. Let's see what type is this limit here. As x go to infinity, Ln of x goes to infinity. What about the denominator? The denominator also go to infinity. So this is of the type infinity over infinity. So again, it is an emergency. So we need to rush to the hospital and apply L'Hopital's rule. Okay. So I'm going to take the limit, and over here we're going to differentiate Ln of x, we got 1 over x. Differentiate q root of x, we got this. Notice that, how did you get this? Okay. Now q root of x is the same as x to the 1/3 power. When you differentiate x to the 1/3 power with respect to x, you get 1/3 x to the negative 2/3 power. Okay. So that's how we got this. Okay. Now we want to simplify this quotient. Now, when possible, we always want to simplify this before we continue. Okay. So to simplify this, we got 1 over x here, divide by this expression. Now, divide by this expression is the same as times the reciprocal of this. So this is the same as 1 over x times 3 times x to the 2/3 power here. The negative exponent here indicate it is the reciprocal of x to the 2/3. So over here, you multiply by this x to the 2/3 power, and divide by 1/3 is the same as times 3. By this, you're going to get 3 over x to the 1/3 power. So the next step, we have limit of this quotient. So that's the simplified form of this one. Okay. Now, as x go to infinity, x to the 1/3 power go to positive infinity, and the numerator here stay unchanged, so and positive. So this limit here is going to be 0. Okay. So this indeterminate form of this type is equal to 0 now. Okay, number 4. Number 4 over here, we try to find this limit. Okay, now let's see what type it is. Okay, so we're like a doctor. We try to diagnose. Is it necessary to use Sorbitol or not? Do we need to go to hospital? Right. So let's first take the temperature. Let's diagnose. Is it what type is that? Okay. So as x going to 0, tangent of x go to 0, x go to 0. So the numerator goes to 0. Okay. The denominator also go to 0. So this is 0 over 0 type. Okay. So we'll apply L'Hopital's rule. Okay. So we have an emergency, so we need to go to the hospital right away. So apply L'Hopital's rule. We're going to differentiate tangent of x. The derivative of tangent x is secant square x. Okay. So we get that is secant square x. The derivative of x is 1. The derivative x cubed here is 3x squared. Okay. Now let's take a look at this. This limit. Okay. I want to see what type is this. Okay. Substitute 0 here. Secant square of 0 is equal to 1. 1 minus 1 gives you 0. So the numerator goes to 0. The denominator also goes to 0. So again, we have this emergency type, 0 over 0. So what do? We go to the hospital again, okay, one more time. Okay, so apply L'Hopital's rule one more time. Now we take the limit as x approaching 0. Now we're going to differentiate the numerator, the derivative of secant square of x. Okay, secant square x is the same as the square of secant x. It's just two different notation. Okay, when you differentiate the square of secant x is the inner function. So we need to apply the chain rule. So the outer function is the square function. So the derivative of the outer function will be 2 times whatever inside here. Okay. Now by the chain rule, we have to multiply by the derivative of this inner function, secant x. The derivative of secant x is secant x tangent x. So we times secant x tangent x. So that's the derivative for secant square x is this. And the derivative of -1 is at 0. Now this will be over. Now we differentiate the denominator. The derivative of 3x squared will be 6x. Okay. Now we want to simplify this. Okay, so simplify whenever possible. So simplify this, we get secant square x. Simplify this, we get secant square x and then tangent x, and then down here is 3x. Okay. Now, what happens when x approaching to 0? Secant x is going to approaching to 1. So it goes to 1. What about tangent x over 3x? What happened to this quotient? As you recall from Math 110a, the limit of tangent x over x is equal to 1. Okay. So this tangent x over 3x is going to go to 1/3. So this whole limit here is going to be equal to 1/3. Okay, number 5, the last example. So take a look at this limit right here, is limit of this quotient. Now, before we rush to the hospital, we want to see what type is that, okay? As x going to pi from the left side, sine of x goes to 0, okay? Sine of x go to 0. What happened to the denominator? Cosine of pi, it is -1. Cosine pi is -1. So cosine x is going to approaching to -1 right here. 1 minus -1 is going to be 2. So that is equal to 2. So this limit here, the numerator goes to 0, the denominator goes to 2. So the limit here will be 0. 0 divided by 2 is 0. So the limit here is equal to 0. So be very careful over here. do not apply L'Hopital's rule, because this limit here is not this 0 over 0 or infinity over infinity. This limit is not of this two emergency type. Do not go to the hospital. Now today we have went over indeterminate form of two type, the two emergency type. The first type is 0 over 0. The second type is infinity over infinity. Both these two are the emergency type that we can apply L'Hopital's rule directly. You need to rush to the hospital. If the limit is not of this two emergency type, do not apply L'Hopital's rule. Okay, all right. Hope you have fun today, and we're going to continue next time.